investment world. This podcast is brought to you by Daba, your most comprehensive platform for investing in African stocks, bonds, and managed funds. You can download the Daba app on your favorite Google and Apple app stores. Today, Monday, September 8th, 2025, we begin the week on a positive note. Despite a few bumps, some flagship stocks are shining and confirm the resilience of the regional market. The good news of the day is that several standout stocks such as Uniwax Côte d'Ivoire, Sicor, and SOGB are posting impressive gains, drawing the attention of both local and international investors. These rises offset the slight dip in the overall index, the BRVM composite, which fell by 0.07%. In other words, even though the general market trend is somewhat hesitant, clear opportunities are appearing for those who know where to look. Let's begin with the indexes. The BRVM composite closed the session at 320.63 points, down by 0.07%. But if we take a step back, since the start of the year, this index has already risen by more than 16%. This shows that in the long run, the trend remains very positive. The BRVM Prestige, which groups together the most solid companies on the exchange, settled at 133.72 points, a decline of 0.31%. Yet even here, the annual performance remains encouraging, with a rise of more than 16% since January. The BRVM 30, the index tracking the 30 most liquid and active companies, gained slightly by 0.1% to finish at 156.78 points. Since the beginning of the year, it has risen 13%, a signal of confidence and stability. What does this mean for you as an investor? That even in a context of occasional volatility, the benchmark indexes remain well-oriented. This means that your diversified portfolio keeps strong prospects if you are exposed to the region's large-cap stocks. Now, let's look at today's champions. Uniwax Côte d'Ivoire is shining with a spectacular gain of 7.45%, closing at 865 francs CFA. Since the beginning of the year, its price has more than doubled, posting an annual rise of over 110%. For investors, this means that the Ivorian textile sector is once again drawing attention, supported by both local demand and regional exports. A strong signal of economic vitality. Sicor Côte d'Ivoire is not far behind. The stock jumped 7.43% to reach 3,975 francs CFA. Admittedly, its annual performance remains slightly negative, down by 0.63%, but this rebound shows that the market anticipates a recovery in the industrial sector, perhaps linked to announcements or improved financial results. The Société de Caoutchouc de Grand Bérébi, better known as SOGB, recorded a solid rise of 4.53% to 7,840 francs CFA. Over the past year, the stock has surged by more than 70%. For those betting on agriculture and commodities, SOGB confirms its place as a defensive and profitable stock. Bank of Africa Côte d'Ivoire also advanced by 4.27%, closing at 6,130 francs CFA. Since January, its stock has risen by more than 36%. This confirms that the banking sector remains one of the engines of the Abidjan exchange. For investors seeking stability and regular dividends, this is a solid option. Finally, Ora Group Togo rose by 2.85%, closing at 1,985 francs CFA. A modest but significant gain, especially in a context of regional consolidation in the banking sector. In short, today's session reminds us that even in a slightly bearish market, there are always winners who stand out. Of course, we must also mention the declines. Unilever Côte d'Ivoire fell sharply by 7.50%, finishing at 38,850 francs CFA. Yet it remains a spectacular stock, with an annual rise of 500%. For investors, this kind of correction may be an opportunity to enter a stock that has already proven its capacity for growth. Safca Côte d'Ivoire lost 3.23% at 1,200 francs CFA. Still, over the year, the stock shows a rise of 66%. Again, this is more of a technical adjustment than a trend reversal. NEI-CETA fell 2.22% to 660 francs CFA, deepening its annual decline of 12%. For investors, this confirms the fragility of the publishing and book distribution sector, which remains under pressure in the region. Servair Abidjan fell 1.69%, while Nestlé Côte d'Ivoire slipped 1.41%. These declines remind us that even multinationals in Africa are not immune to fluctuations linked to production costs or shifts in consumer spending. Let's take a quick look at the sectors. The financial services sector gained 0.47%, confirming its positive momentum since the beginning of the year, with a rise of more than 26%. This is a sign that banking confidence is holding steady and continues to attract more capital. The agricultural sector rose 0.45%, led by SOGB and Palm Côte d'Ivoire. This confirms the strategic role of agribusiness in the region, especially at a time when global rubber and palm oil prices are favorable. On the other hand, the consumer staples sector fell 1.79%, penalized by the underperformance of Nestlé and other companies in the group. For investors, this means that rising costs or pressures on purchasing power can impact these businesses. Let's now turn to the bond market. The BRVM bond market saw a sharp slowdown in trading, with volumes down by more than 93%. Only 2,573 bonds were traded, for a total value of 23,217,938 francs CFA. This reflects a temporary lull in transactions, but we must remember that the bond market remains an essential pillar for financing both governments and companies. Among government bonds, for example, Mali's 10-year bond issued in 2024 and maturing in 2034 remains stable at 10,000 francs CFA, with a yield of 6.50%. This kind of paper attracts investors seeking security and predictable returns. In Senegal, 8-year bonds issued in 2023 offered coupons around 6.15% to 6.50%, also stable. For investors, this means that there is a credible alternative to equities, especially for those looking to diversify their portfolios with fixed-income securities. Finally, among private bonds, Petro Ivoire bonds traded at 10,200 francs CFA, while issues from Aura Group and Sonatel remained active on the secondary market. These instruments offer institutional investors and knowledgeable individuals an opportunity for yield while directly financing the development of Africa's private sector. So, what should we take away from this session on September 8th? On one hand, the general indexes paused slightly. On the other hand, flagship stocks like Uniwax, Sicor, SOGB, and Bank of Africa Côte d'Ivoire show that real opportunities are there. The declines in Unilever, Safca, or Nestlé remind us that the market is never linear. For both individual and institutional investors, the message is clear. Diversification is key. By combining bank stocks, agricultural values, and a dose of bonds, you can build a balanced portfolio that withstands fluctuations. And to help you go further, don't forget Daba Pro. Daba Pro is the premium subscription that gives you weekly recommendations, detailed analyses of listed stocks on the BRVM, exclusive data, and reduced fees to invest. With Daba Pro, you don't just follow the markets, you get ahead of them. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Daba Markets Talk podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with another update. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, follow us, and share with friends. Remember, this information is for educational purposes. Always do your own research or consult with a financial advisor before making investment decisions. And download the Daba app on your app store to start investing in African stocks, bonds, and manage portfolios through your phone and find other helpful content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing your financial knowledge.